And we are live. Hello, guys. Hello, hello. I'm sorry. No, no, no. Habari Gani. I will not say hello or good evening or anything other than Habari Gani for the next 4 days. Habari Gani, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us for day 4, principle 4 of the Kwanzaa celebration. So we know that we are at Ujama. Did I say it right, Principal Cavele?
Said it right.
Ujama is tonight. What have we had? We've had Umoja. We've had Kuchi Chagulia. And last night we had Ujima. And tonight we have Ujama. And so we are going to give it just a couple of minutes to let you guys come in. We're sharing. Of course, we have, as always, some powerhouses backstage. Tonight is really Principal Kafele's show. I'm just on here to be on here to glean and learn, and I'm excited. I always tell you guys how excited I am to allow Black men to lead. And tonight there'll be 3, maybe 4 if he can come back. He has some connection issues. 4 of Principal Kafele's colleagues and good friends, guys. It is going to be so powerful tonight. I'm excited. So give us a moment to share and come in and say Habari Ghani and let us know where you're from. So thank you, Scott from Cleveland. Hello, my fellow rattler. Things up. My favorite principal. Don't tell nobody else. Next, Principal Kafele and Principal Presley are my 2 favorite principals. Don't tell anyone else.
Principal Presley, good to see you.
I'm not Habari Ghani. Oh no, you said Habari Ghani, so I should have said Ujima.
Yeah, there you go. There she is, Dr. McKeever Jeter.
There's my Ocean sister who has been joining us all week. Hey, Sister Tracy. Oh, the Rattler is from Newark, New Jersey. Look at there, Principal Kafele, my fellow Rattler.
I see that. Yeah.
Habari Ghani, my other fellow Nova Scotian. How are you? Thank you for joining us tonight. Yes, there's Vernon, Mount Vernon. I know Dr. McKesey, I think, is from Mount Vernon, I think.
Yeah, money earning Mount Vernon.
Vernon. So there we are, Habari Ghani, she said. So Ujima to you as well. So we're going to give it just a couple more minutes and then we are going to start. Again, we have Principal Kafele's all-star lineup in the background, y'all. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Can't wait to hear these kings talk to us tonight. These are the doers of Kwanzaa, which we said is the ultimate goal and purpose of Kwanzaa is to be doing the work, not just celebrating, not just talking about the principles for 7 days, but doing this work 365 days of the year. So you guys keep on sharing and coming on in, and all my Nova Scotian sisters are on. I feel so special.
There you go. There you go.
Yes.
Hey, Jennifer. Good to see you. Habari Ghani.
Auntie Dot for sharing. Hello, Minty. That's my Minty and my little soror.
Okay.
I'm supposed to say Habari Ghani this week, Jessica. You too, Dr. Heflin. Habari Ghani.
Yeah. How you doing there, sir? Enjoyed you last night.
The South. Hello.
That's my man there. God.
He's pretty intelligent. I can't wait for us to glean from him as it relates to that coding and how to get that implemented.
Yeah.
We're going to help him assist him, and that's going to be in some of our schools, right? We're going to have a coding class.
There you go.
These babies ready. All right, it's 8:06. You want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, how we looking? We good? We good? Let's go.
We good. Yeah, we got people.
All right, let's go.
So
I'm ready.
So I'm going to start by saying Habari Ghani and welcome to the 4th night of our virtual Kwanzaa celebration. And as we all know, Principle 4 or number 4 of the Ngozo Saba is Ujama, is what we're talking about tonight. We have some phenomenal guests joining us. And so we're so excited. We will bring them up in just a moment. I am Dr. Melissa Chester, founder and CEO of Black Educators Rock. This is our 3rd year doing this, and we are excited to be doing so. So Principal Kafele, what do you want to say before we bring up our guests?
Yeah, when we talk about Ujamaa, cooperative economics, you maybe never knew this before, Dr. Chester. I taught a year in Brooklyn, New York City, 1988-89 school year. I fell in love with it and therefore wanted to come back home to Jersey to teach here. But the certification process was going to take a minute. So I subbed, I building based subbed 89-90 school year. And I was just recently married, by the way. So the 89-90 school year, I subbed in one building. And I felt like a teacher in the building because I never had to leave it, so I'm just there. Everybody knew me. Those kids are now adults. They call me their old teacher and all that kind of thing. But then I decided I wanted to be in business for myself. So what
Mhm.
you may not know is that I opened up a bookstore, a black bookstore,
I,
black books bookstore.
I knew that about you.
Knew that, okay. Down
Yes.
in Asbury Park, New Jersey, South Jersey. And to see just the volume of black people who were supporting that store, coming into the store, buying books. In fact, there were some folks who were not black, but coming into the store, buying books from me was the epitome of Ujamaa, cooperative economics. And I'm buying the books from a black wholesaler in New York called Lucina Books, biggest
Okay.
black wholesaler in the country. But
Wow.
but soon after, and I know Zaid can hear us, soon after, maybe Ed and Dashawn are familiar with where I'm going with this in terms of these people. I decided to give it up. So I didn't keep it very long because I wanted to get back into the classroom. So there's a store also in Brooklyn, Flatbush, called Head Start Books and Craft. I sold it to them, and they took over the store in Asbury Park, and I resumed my teaching career in um, in East Orange in New Jersey. But that entrepreneurial bug stayed with me forever until I left my principalship in 2011 to do the work I do now. Right. So
Mhm.
back in that entrepreneurial realm, but it started earlier than a lot of people would know. Back when I had the store in 1992. Right. So that's my little opening, just in terms of where we're going. Um,
Cooperative economic.
Cooperative economics, but because of my guest, as you know, but telling to the fam out here, we're going to talk about a lot of other things as well. We're just going to take the opportunity in the spirit of Kwanzaa to just share a plethora of different things tonight.
Yeah, I guess my cooperative economics example is I was a college professor. I left being a professor because I hated the fact that someone else was in charge of my earning potential. Transitioning down to Jacksonville, I was teaching at Grambling State. I was on a tenure earning position. Those who know what that means. And when I moved here, I got adjunct status. They would not let me even get a visiting line at UNF, at a predominantly white
Mm,
institution here. So
mm,
all they wanted me to do was adjunct. I was good enough to adjunct. And so I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm going to bow out gracefully. I got into real estate, opened up my own real estate school subsequently, have my own real estate brokerage. And I employed 38 other real estate agents and broker associates. And so my cooperative economics and my primary target market, obviously, are first time home buyers, which we know are the majority of us. And so
yeah,
is
yeah,
my example. And of course, Black Educators Rock,
yeah,
my other very tangible example of cooperative economics. And
yeah.
so with that, we're going to bring our guests up in
Doing
no
doing
particular.
great work too.
Is there, thank you, thank you. Is there a certain order you want me to bring these
No,
gentlemen?
no, no, just bring them on.
We have Educational Gilmore. Hopefully, he'll stay with us because that Wi-Fi bad over there. We have, if you look at this gentleman, you may see the resemblance. This is Principal Kafele's cousin. Y'all know those light-skinned ones always be the ones doing the work now. We have Zion. Don't laugh at me.
I,
Coming in
I
as well.
don't even see Zaid laughing that much, man.
We have Pastor Riley joining us, and we have not Newark, New Jersey is in the house, y'all. This is New
Yeah,
Jersey.
yeah, we Jersey strong tonight. Yeah, we Jersey strong. And open us up, Doc, and then I'll jump in here.
And so, as you guys know, as we said, this is our fourth night. We've had phenomenal guests all week. Every night is a powerful, interactive, intentional conversation with educators, community leaders, community activists. And so we've had different ones Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. No, I'm talking about Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Kwanzaa started on Thursday.
Yeah,
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So here's tonight is Sunday. We had Dr. Geneva Stark Pittman. We had Dr. Deetria Smith-Reed. We had
Me.
Atol Bakari Chase.
Yeah.
And we had Mike Grubbs our first night. On the second night, we had Dr. Chika Akua. Who do we have, Dr. Chika Akua? We had
we've had so many.
Marcus K. Jr.
Yeah.
And it was a third person. Who was our third person?
I'll tell you in a minute.
I'm gonna tell y'all because I gotta say his name because he was phenomenal on here.
We've had so many.
We've had a lot, y'all, and y'all know it. Y'all been there with us. We had.
But that was where am I at? Oh, that was Sharif El Mekki.
Quiet Storm, who was also doing a fundraiser.
Who Zaid knows very well.
Doing great things with BMEC, Black Male Educators Convening. He was actually at a fundraiser for a school when he was on. And then last night, we had some powerful guests as well. We had Keena Walker Hotep, Dr. Elliot Heflin, and we also had one final guest after Heflin. We had Neely. He's a financial person, so David Neely. And so tonight we have some real gunners in the work, y'all. Some people who are really doing the work, not just talking about it. And Principal Kafele is going to introduce them to this conversation.
Yeah, you know what I want to do, brothers. I just want you to tell us who you are, and I'll just go in the order that I see you on my screen. So I'm gonna go over to Frank Educational Gilmore, and just give us a synopsis. Educational Gilmore, who is Councilman Ward F, Jersey City Councilman Frank Educational Gilmore? Who are you?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good evening. My name is Councilman Frank Educational Gilmore, Jersey City resident, grew up in Jersey City all my life. First and foremost, before I, get a little bit into my background, I just want to thank you, Principal Kafele, for inviting me here. And Doc, thank you as well. I think it's always good that, we come together in these spaces on these occasions to talk about the importances of the work. Right now, we happen to be discussing the importance of Kwanzaa, but as Black folks, we always need to be very conscious and intentional about creating these spaces for one another. So again, I'm a councilman here in Jersey City, and it's my first term, and I got into politics in a roundabout way. I'm a community activist and a motivational speaker by heart. And I credit education with my rehabilitation. Everything I do is from an educational paradigm. So that's a little bit about me. And also, I'm thankful to be in the presence of such great brothers as well.
Yes, sir. And we're gonna dive into your story a little bit later in this conversation for sure. Brother Ed, who is Brother Edward Riley?
Well, for the most part, I'm just a brother trying to make sure that particularly the Black community stay informed with everything happening around our people. I am one of the founders of All Politics Are Local, which been around now for 16 years. I started it on the campus of Rutgers University. I went back to get a third college degree in political science. Wanted to make sure I was qualified when I was having those conversations. Not that the degree meant anything to me, because I don't credit any of them except the one I got from Essex County College. So, but did that, and of course also was involved with Mayor Baraka, Mayor Lumumba, a number of other people in terms of organizing the 50th anniversary for the National Black Political Convention. I was the board chair for that, and so, for the most part, if you were to say who I am, I would say that I'm a brother just trying to make sure that we keep Black political power.
Love it. And as I said to Brother Gilmore, we will be diving into the National Black Political Convention relative to your role in that as well in this conversation. Brother Baba Zaid Muhammad, who are you, my brother? Unmute.
Steady talking and just muted as all get out. First, let me thank both of you for hosting us and thinking enough of us to be worthy of this platform and this conversation. And you got some incredible guests, three men who I'm extremely proud of. Educational Gilmore is one of the first justice impacted elected officials in our community. He's got a great story of redemption that I want us to appreciate. I'm an old Malcolmite, and that's one of those stories that I grab onto real close. Very proud of this young man. And Brother Ed is my comrade in broadcasting. I was honored to have him ask me to come on All Politics Are Local and help him with content development, and I'm proud to have been an associate producer for that show for some time. The longer answer to the question is that I'm the biological son of one Margaret Frances Bryan Hill, may the ancestors embrace her, and an adopted son of the New York chapter of the Black Panther Party. And my beloved queen introduced us as kings today. I don't come anywhere close to being a king. I'm an old foot soldier in movement circles, so I'm more of a knight. And usually I have this painful distinction of coming after corrupt kings. Right? And my legacy is well documented on that front. And most of these folks on this panel know how I've been getting down over the years on the protest front and the front for justice, but most especially around the question of police accountability, and very painfully around the plight of some of the victims of the government COINTELPRO operations, our political prisoners. And that work has been defining a lot of what I do for better than the past 40 or some odd years. So I'm just an old movement foot soldier who protects good kings and comes after corrupt kings. And queens ain't got nothing to worry about when I'm on the set because they know they're in good hands.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting how each of you are alluding to things that I have in my question. So the whole question around political prisoners with you, Baba Zaid, is part of my questioning. And then I go over Brother Cuz, Dashawn Farad. Who are you, good brother?
Hotep Black Power family. Yes, I'm Dashawn Farad. I'm a journalist. I would consider myself a revolutionary journalist. There's something that I heard one of my idols, Ed Gordon, say. I'm not a journalist who happens to be a black man. I'm a black man who happens to be a journalist. So I come in the tradition of Samuel Cornish, John B. Rushworm, who in March of 1827 established the first African-American media publication right here in New York City, Freedom's Journal. And that paper was founded to primarily bring attention to the atrocity of the Black Holocaust, what our brother Amir Baraka referred to as the Magomisa Maafa, okay, or the Black Holocaust. I come in that tradition, the tradition of Ida B. Wells, T. Thomas Fortune, and to make it more modern, I walk in the footsteps of Gil Noble, Tony Brown, Bill McCreary, so many others. Tavis Smiley. I've been broadcasting literally since 1996, since I was 19 years old, my freshman year in college at Stockton State College in Pomona, New Jersey. I had my first TV show called The Black Side of Stockton. And it was patterned after, it was a call-in show, and it was patterned after Tavis Smiley's BET Talk Show, or BET Tonight, as it will later be called. I grew up in an African-centered home, and I tell anyone that I was exposed to every spectrum of blackness. Nation of Islam, my parents, Nation of Islam. That's how I got the last name Farad. Black Panther Party. I grew up watching Dr. Yusuf Ben Yakin, otherwise known as Dr. Ben, and Dr. John Henry Clark on Gil Noble. In fact, the first time that I saw Dr. Ben in person, it was my cousin, Principal Kafele, and his father, my Uncle Pete. They took us in 1991. I was 13 years old, 1990, pardon me, in Irvington, New Jersey. That was the first time I saw Dr. Ben in person. But to make a long story short, when I decided to pursue media, I always said that my first concern, as Brother Malcolm said, would be with the African American community. I'm a Pan-Africanist. I'm a Black nationalist. So everything that I do, my first concern is the global Black community, but specifically the African American community. I make that very clear. I'm unapologetically pro-Black. Everything that I do is for the benefit of the Black community. So I'm in that tradition. I've had the honor of not just broadcasting, I'm a published writer in honor of Samuel B. Cornish and John B. Russwurm. I established a journalism institute 3 years ago called the Dashan, 2 years ago, the Dashan Farad Institute of Journalism. It's online, in which I teach people, Black folk, how to be guerrilla journalists. It was inspired by another brother right here in New York City, in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, Brother Milton Ahmadi, who for years had a guerrilla journalism institute. So I believe, me being a student of Dr. John Henry Clark, and I've written many historical articles, and I'm going to wrap this up. Dr. Clark has stated that the Black narrative, and I'm paraphrasing right now, and I've actually written about this, but the Black narrative, or the Black historical narrative, for the past 500 years, the majority of it has been written by non-Black people. Dr. John Henry Clark said that Africa and African people are the most written about and the least understood. So me coming in that tradition of a J.A. Rogers, who was also a journalist, I understand the importance of information, how powerful information is, how powerful media is, and how media has been misused for the past several centuries to demonize the Black community. We can use media to place Black people back where we belong, our proper place on top of civilization.
Love it. Powerful stuff. Let's jump into it. But let me say to the fam first out there, the viewers, do me a favor, y'all. Hit that share button, hit that retweet button, hit that repost button, hit that like button. That's how we generate them algorithms, right? How we activate them algorithms. We live in an algorithm age now. So activate the algorithms by hitting the like button. Even if you dislike it, like it anyway. Right. So share, tag somebody, let some of them Facebook groups you belong to know that we are here live and we're in the 4th day of Kwanzaa Ujamaa. Let's jump into it, y'all.
Principal Fele, before you do, I have to say something.
Oh,
like that introduction was like already like a whole show, right?
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Introduction already is. I don't know if you guys heard what each of them said. I hope you were really listening. If not, make sure you go back to the replay and just play the introductions. Did you just hear what he said about the last 500 years of our writing history has been written by mostly non-Black people? So what do you think that is right into one of those principles? Could you name yourself, define yourself? Y'all better get y'all notebooks out today.
Yeah.
You gotta need your notebooks. You're gonna have to take some good notes.
Definitely. To the fam out there who may be new to Kwanzaa, certainly the folks on the screen are not, but to the fam out there who may be new, Kwanzaa was created in 1966 by the great scholar, educator, researcher, historian, Dr. Maulana Karenga. So here we are, that was 1968. Here we are, 2024, 58 years later, and Kwanzaa's going strong. But I got to tell you that, as he would say, I'm just quoting him, Kwanzaa was the vehicle to discuss the Ngozo Saba, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, which we're in right now. Number 4, Ujamaa, cooperative economics. I want to ask the same question for this one to each of you. I got some other questions that'll just be individual, but I want to ask each of you as it relates to, and matter of fact, for the fam, let me just give you these principles real quick. 7 days, 7 principles. Number 1, Umoja, unity. Kujichagulia, self-determination. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Nia, purpose. Kaumba, creativity. Imani, faith. Ngozo Saba, 7 principles, right? So go back to video 1, and we talked about a plethora of different things you can read and videos and all that. I'm not going to take that time today, but let me start with let me start with Ed on this one. Brother Ed, when you think about the Ngozo Saba, we know that Kwanzaa is a 7-day celebration, but we also know that the Ngozo Saba is 365. So my question to you is, as it relates to your work, Brother Ed, How will the Ngozo Saba, those 7 principles, correlate with the work of Brother Ed Riley beyond January 1st, Imani Day?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that it's funny, man, when you were saying that, and I'm sure everybody on the show is going to remember this. I remember when Imhotep Gary Bird was doing his show from the Apollo Theater,
And I was
and
there.
Bird, oh yeah, and
I
Bird
was a guest on the show. I was on that Apollo stage.
so was I, right? So was I, and we were doing something called the College Entertainment Review magazine at the time, back then when we were in undergrad. But I used to remember Imhotep Gary Bird, right? He would do the 7 principles. He would open his show with the Ngozo Saba, and for most of the people in the Northeast here, actually became familiar with what the Ngozo Saba was and what those 7 principles were, because Bird opened up his show every day from the Apollo Theater with the Ngozo Saba.
That's right.
And so it became a way of life, right? So all of those principles are a way of life, particularly, and me and the mayor had this conversation as well, Mayor Baraka, not about, because people like to use this term woke versus conscious, right?
Consciousness.
Right. And so for us, we see the Ngozo Saba, if you conscious, living those principles every day of your life, right? And the most important one for me, obviously, is the last one, which is Nia, right? So faith is perhaps the most important part, because I think that everything that we get into in our lives, particularly as Black people, and our level of survival in this country has been based on our faith, because we had to believe that we were going to survive. We had to believe that level of torture, that level of terrorism, right, that our people endured for over 400 years in America. We had to believe that we were going to make it. And even now, we have to believe, even with the second coming, right, of Trump, we have to believe that we're going to make it. So for me, the Nguzo Saba is a way of living, right? Those 7 principles or way of living. So every day, those 7 days, I'm living at 365 days a year. And I think what Zaid and I do every Friday, and of course, as well, Brother Kafele, as well as you, Dashan, what we do every Friday is a testament, right, to Black culture.
That's right.
Because if you pop on there at any point, as my brother Zaid like to close the show, we're gonna catch people where, Zaid?
Whirlwind.
You know what?
Whirlwind. Love it, love it. Let me go to Baba Zaid with the exact same question for all 4 of you. How will the Nguzo Saba correlate to your life beyond the 7-week celebration of Kwanzaa?
That's a big question, and I'm trying to figure out a short way to do that so everybody can we could maximize this conversation. First, let me say that I want to pay homage in this answer to the revolutionary thinker and organizer, and he doesn't get credit for being the legendary organizer that he was, who was Imam Umiri Baraka, who brought Kwanzaa to the East Coast when he was working with Dr. Maulana Karinga, later Imam Umiri Baraka, and revolutionary organizer that he was, and revolutionary that he was, it influenced me in a very revolutionary way. I've used Kwanzaa in every teaching paradigm that I've been in, and I'm not a credentialed classroom teacher, but on the community front, I've trained teachers, right, and in community-based political education, I've run several programs for young people. All of them have always been permeated with the Nguzo Saba, and I'm very proud of how that has emerged. I will say this, though. I mean, I think if it was any one principle or 2 principles I would be associated with, it would probably be Kuji Chagalia, because of the kind of protest character that's dominated my life, and the other side of my life that not many know about, but when I was a young man, I was quite well known about it. And that is Kumba, or creativity, the creative side of me. I am a writer and got a ton of stuff that I need to get out that is long overdue over the next year and a half. But back to it, and I'll build also on Ed's point. The other ancestor I want to acknowledge is Malcolm, because Karinga builds on Malcolm's call for the liberation of the African personality, right? And Malcolm is that ultimate example, or one of the ultimate examples of the Imani principle, the faith principle, in redeeming those of us who have been crushed to the lowest rungs of what America puts Black people through, right? Post the slavery paradigm. And he made a point to use his story and his personal redemption song, if you will, to help everybody see that, and to help those of us who are similarly situated in those kind of situations. And I literally captured my direction, stealing his autobiography in the drug transaction many years ago myself, you know? So faith is the foundational principle, right? And I struggle with that. I love sharing this with our babies, right? With our young ones, right? But at the same time, I want to kick our grown folks behind, because the two principles that we are weakest in are Umoja and the one that we need to talk about today, Ujamaa.
Right.
Right? Kwanzaa's 58 years old, ain't no baby no more. We should be further along in building united strategies without apology and a whole lot of ego. And we should be further along with pooling our resources and controlling our own destiny. Absolutely. And we can't blame our kids for that, no matter how backwards or the dark spaces they may be in. If we're not setting the proper examples for them in terms of where they should be, that's the pie we got to eat, even if it ain't got no sugar in it.
Yeah, yeah. You know, because we're a national audience, and you reference Brother Amiri Baraka, and Ed referenced Mayor Raz Baraka, we're a national audience, and there could be people on here that don't know the connection. So when you hear folks out there, when you hear Mary Baraka, we're talking about the father of the current mayor of Newark, New Jersey, the Honorable Raz Baraka. So I want you all to know that out there in the fam. Let me go to Councilman Gilmore on the same question. Councilman Gilmore, how will the Ngozo Saba correlate to your leadership going beyond the Kwanzaa celebration of this week?
Yes, that is a great question, man. Just for me, from a foundation standpoint, right? Where would you be without faith? That belief in a higher power, that belief in yourself. So for me, these principles are all intertwined for me. And, you know, we display behaviors and action that's indicative of all 7 of the principles daily, not just from the 26th on. We do this daily because you have to, when you understand the nuances of these principles, again, you have to have the faith in yourself. And with that faith, you become determined. You have that self-determination because your faith is so strong. You believe you have the will within, so you're self-determined, right? And then once you have that self-determination, you understand that there is a purpose for your existence on this earth. There's a purpose. And within that purpose, you have to find unity with your brothers and sisters who you're locked in this struggle of life, if you will. And with that unity, you have to work as a collective unit. You have to work collectively. We always say there's no I in team. Strength come in numbers, things like that. And that's because it's the collective work. No matter who scores the most points, someone have to get rebounds, someone have to get assists, you know, and it's that collective work that we have to do. And then the brother Zaire alluded to it earlier, what we don't do enough of, which is, in this day and age, I will make the argument that is the most important principle in which we need to be doing, and that is this collective economics, right? We're in a space right now First and foremost, we have to understand the power of economics, the power of seeing the black dollar penetrate the black community for several days. And we have to be unapologetic about this stuff. So many people think that when you're pro-black, you're anti everything else. No, I'm not anti anything. I'm just saying what I'm pro. I'm pro-black because I'm a black man in America. I understand who I am. So we have to really make sure, we're practicing group economics, and for these principles, for me, it's the cornerstone of my life. It's the cornerstone of my very existence, right? Without these principles applying every day in life, right? I am nobody. I am nobody, and I am nowhere without these 7 principles. And again, we just have to really unify. And once you unify and you see the beauty in working together, and you see the beauty in moving as a unit, moving in unison, wow, man, it seems as though everybody else knows it but us, that, you have to be unified. So for me, like I said, these principles are a cornerstone of my very existence.
I love it. I appreciate that. Brother Cousin Dashawn, what are your thoughts?
My favorite Kwanzaa principle has always been Kujichagulia, self-determination. Now, you have a lot of black folk who are panicking at a second Trump administration, a second Trump term. And here's something that we ought to keep in mind, okay? What sickens me is that the African-American community, we have judges, we have doctors, we have engineers, we have professors, we have scientists, we have plumbers, we have agriculturalists. We have everything that a nation needs. But every time the Republicans are getting ready to take office, whether it's the White House or the Congress, we panic. Now, Dr. Maulana Karenga has stated that whenever we study the counterintelligence program, here's something to keep in mind. He says that the counterintelligence program had hit us during a time that he refers to as the golden age of African Americans, the 1960s. Why was it referred to as the golden age of African Americans? Because this was a time when black people were organizing in mass. We begin to identify with other communities, other black communities outside of America. We begin changing our names. We begin practicing in mass what Dr. Karenga had introduced to us as cultural nationalism, in which he and others had said that before we can return back to Africa physically, we have to return back to Africa mentally, okay? So during the 1960s, when we were having sit-in movements, whether we were nationalists, whether we were integrationists, we were organizing in mass and we were building institutions. And so now I always, one time, this was in 2016, when Trump had ran the first time, I was on Roland Martin's radio show, and I called in. I said, Roland, because they were panicking about Trump possibly winning. I said, Roland, in the event that Hillary loses, does the African-American community have a contingency plan to deal with this? And he said, I don't know, or no. I said, okay, well, why are we panicking? Okay, this is the thing that kind of, I come from the philosophy of do for self. And I'm going to tell you something. As a journalist, I have traveled across the country covering conferences that are organized by black professionals. I'm not going to mention these organizations right now because I don't feel like getting into a back and forth with some of them. By the way, I am Panhell, by the way, and I see a sister up there, blue and white. I'm 1914 as well. Spring 99, North Carolina Central University, big brother Professor Griff. That's another story. Blue 5. But anyway, when I go to these professional organizations conferences, and whenever you mention the word independence, you get looked at like this is something new. Like the concept of black folk owning our own is something new. And I'll never forget, me being a journalist, I'm a member of the National Association of Black Journalists. We had a meeting at CBS right here in New York City, and one of our national officers came. And so at this time, you had a lot of folks. This when Sharpton had first became MSNBC host, and a lot of black journalists were upset that they were hiring commentators as opposed to journalists. So I asked one of our officers, I said, brother, since so many black journalists are out of work and we keep complaining that these major networks are not hiring us, would our organization consider, if not establishing a TV network, why don't we establish at least a radio network? So you want to know what he says to me? It's amazing to me that anytime you tell our people to be independent, we always have an excuse to crawl back on the plantation. He said, well, we really want created for that, and that'll cost millions of dollars, and we're not made for that. I said, brother, hold on, wait a minute. We spend millions of dollars every year in white hotels to have our conventions, which is the reason why one of my idols, Tony Brown, legendary host of Tony Brown's Journal, over 30 years ago, Tony Brown had said this. He said, for 2 years, Black organizations, which includes the Black Greek letter organizations, he said, don't have a convention for a year or 2 years. He said, use that money that you would have used to spend on white institutions to build Black institutions for us to have our conventions. My fraternity brother, who's now an ancestor, Gerald Smith, in 1990, he invited Tony Brown, who was an alpha, to our convention, Conclave, in 1990. And they teamed up with that. My frat brother, Gerald Smith, said, you know what? In the meantime, as we're attempting to build our own institutions, why don't we have our conventions at HBCUs? Let them make that money. Expose the college students to that. So, Brother Baruti, I believe in Black independence, which is the reason why I established the Dashan Farad Institute of Journalism. And I also have to give a quick shout out. Right now, I'm broadcasting from GoPro Radio Network, of which I'm a member, founded by Tylan U. Xavier Washington. Please look up GoProRadio.com. Brother Tylan established this network to empower Black media personalities. This network right here is a Black-centered network that we're a part of. And so what sickens me with our community is we treat being independent as if though this is something oblivious. As soon as you start talking Black economics, Black power, oh my God, you sound like, young man, and Zaid's gonna laugh at this, and my cousin Gafelo, young man, we really don't want to adhere to that, to the whole Louis Farrakhan doctrine. That's wait a minute. I have to be Nation of Islam and a follower of Minister Farrakhan to advocate Black independence. So, this is what I do throughout the day in terms of helping to educate our people. Once again, information is a powerful tool. Let me tell you how powerful, when you're a media personality, let me tell you something. Let me tell you how powerful you are. At one time, the CIA and the intelligence agencies used to recruit journalists. You know that, right? You know why? Why do you think they recruited journalists? Because we control the flow of information. We know how to gather information. We can misuse information. We can shape thought, shape reality. That's why media is referred to as the fourth estate of government, the fourth branch of government. So what I'm attempting to do is, I attempt to use my platform as a way of educating, waking up, and empowering our community. I'm going to say once again, I'm Black first. My first concern is the Black community.
All right, let me jump in here before you go, Dr. Chester. 2 things. Number 1, folks, hit that share, hit that retweet, let folks know we're here. Number 2,
let the right folks know.
Yeah. Well, no, I want even the ones that everybody need to hear this.
Yeah, okay.
I want them all in here. Number 2, that's my cousin y'all just heard, right? So we'll take a little credit for that, right? But the other thing, y'all, I lost my train of thought. So we'll just go on. Doc, take it over.
No. Listen, let me see where I wanted to go from there. There was so much shared just then. We heard, conferences being at HBCUs. We heard about understanding like the media. We heard about our own networks when it comes to radio and what's being disseminated and what's being shared. I really hope you all are listening. We're like we said, last night was cooperative work and responsibility. Tonight is cooperative economics. Like those things are each other.
Responsibility last night.
Huh?
Collective work and responsibility.
Collective work and responsibility, and then cooperative economics tonight. Collective work, cooperative economics. We're gonna talk a little bit about us. It's been mentioned, kind of. Y'all, we gotta support each other. We gotta support each other financially, socially, physically, We have to figure this stuff out. You know, we've been talking about all week. We're out organized. We're not out anything other than out organized. Everything else we possess. Principal Kafede, I'm going to let you keep going.
All right, then I'm gonna keep going. Hey, to the fam out there, today is Ujamaa. Let me give you the definition of Ujamaa: to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. Right? Again, to profit from them together. You know, and this will be another question for the four of you, and then it's a part A and B, and then I'm gonna give you some individual questions. But one was undoubtedly, I'm thinking about this principle of Ujamaa, and undoubtedly, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I also wanted to be an educator, and I did that for 21 years. But as I said in the opening, I went on and I've been living this entrepreneurial life for the past, going on 14 years on New Year's Day. I want to ask you, brothers, to the four of you, what is the necessity of this principle, Ujamaa, from your vantage point as activists, as leaders, and toward the self-sufficiency of the Black community? Let me start off with Educational Gilmore.
Yeah, so for me, this cooperative economics, it's so important, right? But I just want to draw your attention to something, right? When and this stuff is intentional, right? When I purchase a home, the attorney looks like me, the realtor looks like me, the financing agency, which is hard to do, looks like me. The people who build the house looks like me. The people who cleans the house out looks like me. And that stuff is intentional because one, you want to empower your people. In essence, you increase your wealth when you spend your financial gains within your network. So it's from a community a community activist standpoint, it is extremely important. And the thing is, sometimes people they kind of wary. It's like, oh shit. And I tell people all the time, no, charge me what the going rate is. Don't give me a break because I want to pay what the going rate is because I understand the importance. Everyone have a family to feed. And I don't, because I'm trying to nickel and dime a project, I don't want to take away from you, right? So it is extremely important. Again, the circulation of the Black dollar. They said it circulates in our community for minutes.
Yeah. For
minutes. How can you build group economics from that financial deficiency? You just can't do it. So I've been spending these last 7-8 years literally banging my head on a wall, trying to figure out how can we keep that Black dollar in a Black community in Jersey City for longer than what it is. I opened up a juice bar, right? I'm intentional on who I hire. I'm intentional on who I provide services to and for. All of that stuff is by design because I want to practice group. I want to, if someone's thirsty, I have the juices. If I'm hungry and my brother got a store, I'm going to go to my brother's store and get something to eat. My clothes are dirty. Guess what? They got Black laundry detergent. I'm going to use this detergent to wash my clothes. And guess what? It's not just Black. It happens to be good. It happens to be better than everything else that's on the shelf, and it's cheaper. Right? So we have to be intentional about these things, man, because when you look at, and I tell people all the time, you have to be willing to put the advancement of self on hold for the advancement of the whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Baba Zaid had referenced Brother Omar Wali, Malcolm, a little bit earlier. And you go back to those speeches such as Ballad of the Bullet, Message to the Grassroots, when he talks about those business owners who take that dollar to another part of the town, right? And we got, as you said, Educational Gilmore, Councilman Gilmore, we got to be intentional about how we spend our money, right? We got to be intentional about who we collaborate with, etc. Right? It matters. Let me go to Ed with the same exact question from your vantage point as leader, activist, and the overall self-sufficiency of the Black community. What is the significance of Ujamaa?
It's interesting, man, because I've been around for a minute, just like Zaid and just like you.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about that, I remember, in my youth growing up, and there used to be a brother. He's still around. He's an elder now. His name is Bob Law, and he used to have a show called Night Talk. And I remember Bob used to, he used to have these shopping trips, right? And he used to, organize his listeners, and because cooperative economics was important, he would organize Black folk who didn't ordinarily patronize Black businesses. And he would take us in the Black community, and we would begin to shop at Black businesses. You can see today, right? If you go into any Black community, I just got back from New Orleans, right? New Orleans, one of my best friends and co-founder and co-host of All Politics of Local, Jonathan Austin, just got married. And one of the things I appreciated about New Orleans was the culture, right? Everywhere we went, there was some culture. The food, everywhere you went, it was the culture. But if you come to our city, to Newark, right, and you travel through the Black community, you'd be hard pressed to find quality Black restaurants. You'd be hard to find that. I remember when we were coming up, you would find steak and takes in the 70s, right? You would find Black businesses all up and down South Orange Avenue. You don't see that anymore. So cooperative economics, in my mind, is a state of mind, right? We no longer have that state of mind. We believe that other people's ice is colder than ours, right? And a lot of that has to do with the level of conditioning that we've got now, right? We don't have those meetings that Amiri used to say all Black organizations meet at least once a week, right? We don't do that. So how are we going to teach this level of Black cooperative economics to each other? Because we've kind of gotten away from that in terms of supporting Black businesses. One, because most of our people are out of their minds, right? And we say out of your African mind. So we can't go into our communities and find safety, right? And then be able to have the level of security and comfort to be able to stay open late enough to support each other without someone coming in there to rob us or to hurt us, right? So if we're going to get to that, I think we've got to get to, in my mind, right, we've got to get back to educating a Black mind so that Black folks can understand economics is important, but also understanding who we are, right? Because Malcolm said that the revolution has to be financed, right? White folk ain't gonna give us nothing for free. That's our problem, right? We think what white folks are gonna give us something for free. It's never gonna happen, right? What we've got to do, in my mind, is get to that and understand that us supporting each other is important. Buying Black is important, right? Yeah. But we've also got to understand that the entire world copied us. We didn't copy them; they copied us. But if we can't educate our people on that, it's hard for us to understand the concept of supporting and buying from each other, right? Just like the brother said, when he talked about his realtor being Black, right? Yeah. All of that, his lawyer being Black, that's important. A lot of our folks don't see that, right? So they don't honor Black professionals. I don't know about you all. When I was in college, I couldn't cheat. I saw white folks cheating. But I can tell you that the white professors didn't allow the Black folks in that class to cheat. They allowed white girls to write notes up in between their legs. So in my mind, I came out, I think I'm a better professional than a lot of those white folks who were in those classes with me. But our folks will tend to support other folks instead of supporting our folks and supporting ourselves. And you already know this, Brother Phil, if you come into our city and you go downtown Newark to the Portuguese community, you see commerce all day long.
Oh yeah.
All of them supporting each other.
Oh yeah.
You go about 5 miles up, go up South Orange Avenue. It's dark up there, brother.
Right.
Go up Central Avenue. It's dark up there. Right. And there are very few businesses that you're gonna find, right, where we're actually doing business with one another. It doesn't exist. But that is important because we're not going to get free until we understand that we must do something for ourselves and we must support each other.
I'll show you. You know, Brother Ed, you referenced Imhotep Gary Bird last time you spoke, and you referenced Bob Law this time. I just want to pay personal homage to both of them because,
Absolutely.
you know, Bob Law, I wrote my first book in 1991, and it just took one snail mail, right, back in them days, a press release, and they called me right away, and I sat up in his studio at WWRL.
That's right.
And this man, he knew me. He didn't know me from a can of paint, but he interviewed me for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. Then Imhotep Gary Bird, I snail mail to his producer, Monifa. And I'm on that stage at the Apollo with him, right, in 1992, right, with that same book. So, you know, it's a lot of folks that are not going to bring you on that easily. Right. But these brothers, you know, I guess they saw something in the work, saw something in me and said, let's go. Let me share my microphone with you. Right. Let me go over to Baba Zaid. Same question. You need me to restate it or you good? Unmute.
Yeah, restate it because it's just so
it's been a minute. Yeah, just, you know, in terms of the principle of Ujamaa, how does it correlate with, from your vantage point, your leadership, your activism, and the self-sufficiency of the Black community?
Well, let me say two things, and I'll try and be brief, but I want to be very pointed about what I do say.
Mm-hmm.
We are of the kind of consciousness, and Deshaun kind of alluded to it, where I would dare say we're overly dependent on the goodwill of others, meaning government, party affiliation, white folks, philanthropy, you know, all of those outside of our community, others that many of us depend on. We've only had 2 short periods in our history where we had only a semblance of equal acknowledgments of our humanity and our rights and entitlements from those areas. The brief moment after the Civil War that was Reconstruction, which was violently overthrown with terrorism, right? And the brief moment that we're in now, that is the civil rights, post-civil rights era that is under a full frontal attack as we speak, right? One of the things that's important from in appreciating Kwanzaa in the spaces that it comes from is that the folks who want to see us oppressed, who want to keep us in our place, they do understand Ujamaa. And they do not want to see us really embrace that, because whenever we have, in spite of our conditions, we excelled, right? In spite of the overthrow of Reconstruction and going into that period of history that we call the Nadir, we pooled our own resources, we built our own institutions, and in some cases we did that and made folks in the white working class somewhat jealous of us, which led to their terrorism in our community. So the second point is that I want to make is that when we dare stick together, when we dare pool our resources, where we dare come together, you know, build and develop and nurture our institutions the way we should, with the standards that we should be doing that with, right? We need to also come up with paradigms that allows us to defend them. I ran a paramilitary organization for years in the tradition of Black Panther Party, right? And those traditions emerged because when those moments, those fleeting moments in our history where we had some semblance of government or national support, were just fleeting moments. They ended violently. And because we did not have the capacity to defend ourselves, that was when we really began to see the hard edges of Jim Crow segregation really beat us up. And the ground that we're losing now in this particular era, as DEI and all those other civil rights, women's rights, immigrant, all of those things come under attack, right? We need not just be united politically. We need to also be united to protect what we have. Nobody else does that, and we need not apologize for that. And when other folks on the other side understand that we're willing to defend ourselves and defend what we have, right? They'll think twice about coming at us the way that they have in the past with that terrorism. That's something I really want us to really consider as we go into this new age and all the darkness that looms with us. With that, right? Some of these folks are capable of incorrigible violence. Incorrigible violence. We're witnessing a genocide of people right in front of our face, right? And the whole, national apparatus is gaslighting the world. Oh, there's going to be a ceasefire, right? Stop. Let's understand the space that we're in and how violent it could be when we do not do these things for ourselves. And we dare not protect our right to do that. It's critically important. And in these next few years, in this next decade or so, it's going to be even more important. So we need to prepare to do that. The holy principle of Black power is self-defense, self-determination, self-defense, and self-respect.
Say those three again.
Self-determination, which is also Kujichagulia, self-defense, and self-respect. Right? And they are extremely important for us to deal with and appreciate in dark moments like those that are in front of us right now.
Powerful statement. Dashawn, in the interest of time, because it's racing, I'm with you, but I want to give you a different question, and then I go around the panel with this same question, and I'm gonna yield back to Dr. Chester.
Yes, sir.
Dashawn, you're the superintendent of a school district somewhere in New Jersey.
Yes, sir.
And I'm still within the principle of Ujamaa. What would be different in the schools that you lead as superintendent relative to inspiring entrepreneurship of the students that attend those schools?
I will require that all students have at least 2 years of a business course teaching them entrepreneurship before they graduate high school. Junior and senior year, business 101, business 102.
Mm-hmm.
And then you will be required to, as part of your assignment in your junior and senior year, to establish a business, a bank account, and anything that goes along with that.
So financial literacy goes along with it, I'm hearing?
Yes, sir. Now, keep in mind, family, Brother Baruti, what I forgot to mention is that one of the people who I used to work with was Dr. Boyce Watkins at YourBlackWorld.com. And of course, I already knew about the importance of Black economics, but I was able to relate more to Dr. Watkins, him being a Generation Xer. He's the reason why I began studying economics as it pertains to Black people. As he says, he majored in economic psychology or financial psychology, pardon me. He's the reason why I began to study financial psychology. And so, keep in mind when we speak about the attack of the African or the Black mind, that affects everything, as Dr. Joy DeGroy pointed out in her book, Post-Traumatic Slave Disorder. We have to ask ourselves the question, to what degree did slavery and white supremacy and Jim Crow affect the Black psyche? It affects us down to how we relate even economically. But that would be, if I was the superintendent there, brother, that would be a requirement that you have to.
Go ahead.
I love it. Hey,
that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Before you go to the next, I did want to tie into when they were talking about the cooperative economics, and councilperson was talking about, councilperson Giver was talking about his Black realtor, So I'm a part, I have to give a shout out. Yeah. I would be remiss if I didn't. So I'm a part of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, NAREB, and I have to give this history because it's so relevant to what he was saying.
I know about NAREB. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm the local board president going out for NAREB, for the local board for Jacksonville, Florida. So NAREB, guys, exists because at one time Black people couldn't be realtors. And so we could not become realtors until the passing of the Fair Housing Act. And so before then, 11 men and one woman got together and created their own organization. And because they could not be realtors, they became realtists. And that was how they bought, sell, and invested in real estate until the passing of the Fair Housing Act, which then said that it was illegal for them to ban us because of our race to become a member of their association. And so NAREB still exists today. There are local boards all across the country. As I stated, I am the outgoing president for Jacksonville, where our name is the First Coast Association of Realtors. And we have our incoming president, our first male president in 2025, I'm excited about. He's the 6th president. I was number 5. And so we are still doing this work, and we are still very intentional about Black builders, Black electricians, Black plumbers, Black realtors, Black lenders, etc. And so just wanted to make sure I gave that shout out because that was pertinent to that conversation. And I wanted to bring attention to, before you go on, because again, I hope you all are catching the nuances of what they're saying when it comes to it. Guys, when we're talking about social justice and equality and those things and wanting equity, we're only going to get that through community. The unity of our own communities, our own businesses, our own households, mutual respect and cooperation for the common good. They've been saying it. We're looking to the wrong people. I don't know. We have this thing of wanting people to do right by us, and they've shown us for decades and centuries that that's like not the case. And so at some point we must realize that we are the answer of which we're looking for. We have everything we need within us, whether that be education, whether that be business, whether that be health, no matter what area, economic empowerment, because we're financially literate, most of us. It's economic empowerment that we have to get towards. And so just hope you guys are really paying attention to what these scholars are putting down. So that's what I wanted to say, Principal Kafela.
No, I love it. I appreciate you sharing that knowledge as well.
I wanted to jump in there on that too. Go ahead.
No, please do. Floor is yours, Baba Zai.
My dear Queen, I really appreciate what you're talking about, and the field that you're in is one of the fields that we should be more intentionally cooperative about. We need a housing co-op movement in this country, like all get out, right? And even though we have a Fair Housing Act and whatnot, that's the least enforced of all of the so-called civil rights acts that we've had. The most discrimination has been in that field. So it's really been on us in our own community that has to take care of what little gains we get in those particular spaces. And I'm proud of the spaces that I belong to that have cooperative dimensions. I spent Kwanzaa with my family and with an organization that is known as REFAL, a space that we own that came out of a consciousness raising space. Last night I was with my comrades in the December 12th movement, right? I shut the streets down in New York City with the December 12th movement. Folks don't realize the cooperative economics that they practice, the spaces that they control. Sister's Place and the Harriet Tubman, Fannie Lou Hamer, food co-op that they have, right? There's basic things that we can do to take care of ourselves. And if we don't go any further than just understanding that we have to be responsible for taking care of ourselves, that's the floor that's important that we're going to need to move forward and to build a greater community with greater vision and greater self-determination. So I just wanted to build on what you said there, Queen, because it's very important.
And it starts with us loving ourselves first so that we can love each other.
Very important.
Core of it's about we're not loving ourselves. We've been talking about certain things, and last night you gentlemen weren't on. But one of the things, the question that I asked them, when you close your eyes to pray to whoever your higher being is, what does he or she look like? And it starts there, as to who we worship. And so that begins to say how we feel about ourselves. And so we're not able to get to that stage and space of community and mutual respect and cooperative economics, because at the end of the day, we have to really look at how we feel about ourselves. Because if I love me, there is no way that I'm not going to go spend my dollars with people that look like me. There is no way that I'm not going to be intentional about hiring people that look like me for the things that I need and want. If I truly love me, I want everything that I touch and that's around me to be representative of me. And so we really do have to start asking ourselves those questions. We really do.
You know, Dr. Chester, this is actually your part. So if there's anything you wanted to throw at these four professors, please.
On that, because how we're going to get to any of these principles again is about personal development, right? It's about how we're developing ourselves. From you guys' lenses, what has been the biggest challenges in, I guess, pick your most major, your most pivotal fight, whatever it is. What has been the biggest challenge when it comes to our community and the principles of Kwanzaa, or something that's relevant to the principles of Kwanzaa? What has been the biggest challenge for you in your work?
I think for me, it's, I hate to even say this, but like I've been into investment lately, right? And it seems as though for whatever reason, and I can't totally put my hand on it, whenever I try to go purchase something or negotiate a deal with someone that looks like me, I'm always looked at as if, one, I'm trying to get over, two, I don't have the financial capacity to execute the deal, or three, I'm just not taken seriously. I remember vividly, I put an offer in on a house. I think it was like 350, and then I look and the house sold for 315. I'm perplexed. I'm like, how is it possible? Like, how can I lose the bid and I bid it more? And it's happened in several instances. So to the point you just made, right? If you don't have that self-appreciation and self-respect for yourself, when you sit down and pray to whoever it is you pray to, if that individual doesn't resemble you, then, like you said, it's just really hard. Some people are black when convenient, or black by benefit, right? They're only black when it's beneficial to them. They're only black when it's convenient, you know. So that's like, it's one of the biggest hurdles, man. And again, and I guess I understand we are broken people, but at some point we have to look accountability in the face. Right. I get the struggles we come from. I'm not dismissive of any of that, but I'm of the opinion at some point you have to pick yourself up. At some point you have to hold yourself accountable. At some point you have to make up for your deficiencies in whatever area that is. Right. I'm just not the type of person to let my circumstance, how I grew up, where I come from, determine how I'm going to proceed in life, right? So that was something that, you know, that I've seen on several occasions, and I was just taken aback, and I was perplexed at the fact that, you know, people that look like you, for a plethora of reasons, just don't deem you worthy, you necessary, or you having that capacity to get the deal to the next level.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, I was going to say this, and right on to what Gilmore just said also. The importance of having control, and I mean ownership when I say control, of the spaces that gives you the freedom to educate our young around these principles, around this history, around our identity, around our value, around the development of our character, what we call Iwa Pele and Ifa, right? When you do not have spaces that you control, right? Whoever is controlling those spaces is going to determine ultimately what's going to go down and not go down in those spaces. And I know educators, holler if you hear me. I know some of y'all are banging your heads up against the wall on that front, I'm sure, right? And that's going to be a profound challenge. It's no accident that the right wing is coming at education and coming at our history being taught in public school. It's not by accident. They understand its power, its transformative dimensions, and they don't want to see that transformation take place. So wherever we have control of those spaces, as we create spaces, if you will, right, to have those vehicles to do what we need to do, that's really, really the key. You know, I've gotten my most knowledge in spaces that we control. And I when I took over the new Black Panther Party in this area, it was only because I saw them being kicked around in space after space in spaces that would not allow them to do what we did, you know, clean people up and protect the community, right? Until we found a space that was genuinely dedicated to those principles. And that is Refall, our building on South 9th Street here in Newark. When I had my Freedom School, I had to remind the community center that I had the Freedom School in is that look at your history. You were produced, you created yourself out of a segregation situation that would not allow your children to go to the YMCA in your community. Let me use the Freedom School concept of cultural enrichment to remind these young children of their history and who they are. And I wound up staying in that particular place for 10 years.
Wow.
You know, because I had to wake up some folks in the building that act like this is your building. It's yours.
Yeah.
Act like it's yours.
Here in Florida, we have, charter schools and different types of schools. There's always funding. And so another conversation that has been present the previous nights are about our own schools and having our own curriculum because they're giving you the funds to do so. We have everything we need to teach those classes. And so, because the conversation spawned out of the fact that we know they want to take Black history out and et cetera and all of that stuff in certain states. And so now the churches are picking that back up, teaching that. But I was saying, we need to make sure we partner with those churches, educators, those who that's their area of expertise, to make sure they're teaching the babies the right thing. They still shouldn't be talking about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. It should be so much more and so much deeper.
Yeah.
So we have the African American history guru, my little brother that has been on CNN, who's fighting up there in Georgia. Rashad Brown. I don't know if any of you all saw him on CNN, and that's my little brother, my little mentee out of FAMU. Go Rattlers. Yes. And so we have people like that have curriculum that are deeply, Dr. Chika and others, that we need to make sure those curriculums that they're teaching are intentional, they're focused, and they're on the right content. And so it all goes hand in hand with that collective work and responsibility and cooperative economics.
Dr. Chester, the Kathy that you're communicating with, that's my aunt here in Jersey City.
Okay.
Yeah. Are y'all good to go past 9:30?
That's up to y'all. I'm all right.
I'm good. How about you, Dr. Chester? All right, because I got y'all. I got pages.
I figured it was gonna be till 10 o'clock. I figured it was gonna be the 10.
I've been working today, man. I ain't like I'm really, So listen, I want to ratchet it up a little bit. I want to throw these individuals at you. I got individuals for all four of y'all, and that'll take us right to the close. But I want Doc to jump in here as well, because Zaid and Ed, I got two parters for you, man. Let me go to brother Councilman first. I want to share something. I told you we were going to get into your story a little bit. I was reading, and to the fam out there, it's still not too late for you to get a child that might be in your household. Bring them to the computer. Right. This is far more potent than what they're going to get in that public school classroom. Trust me on that. I lived in them for a long time. So if you got children in the home, bring them to the computer. And in the meantime, make sure you're sharing this live stream, retweeting, reposting, texting, tagging, whatever it is. Right. But if you got children in the house, bring them over to the computer and let them learn something today. Right. Educational Gilmore is councilman of Ward F, Jersey City, ran as an independent, ran with a small budget, but he is the councilman in that ward right now. Let me read this. I was reading an article about him. I read it along when I was preparing for when he was on my platform about a couple years ago. But I say to you, Educational Gilmore, are the epitome of, quote, don't count me out and don't give up on me. You epitomize that. So I want to read what I took from the article. It says Jersey City. I'm going to read an excerpt. Jersey City Ward F Councilman Frank Educational Gilmore reflected on being one of the first formally incarcerated individuals to hold elected office. He also talked about policing, helping troubled youth, and more while discussing his first year in office. So here he says, in some states, as soon as you get arrested, you lose your voting privileges entirely, he said in a phone interview. But Gilmore noted that Governor Phil Murphy here in Jersey, Democrat, signed legislation in 2019 that allowed formerly incarcerated individuals to vote, which also allows them to run for office. He said, I don't see that anywhere. I don't see it anywhere accomplished across the country. I ran as an independent with not much money, not part of the political establishment. It's a huge accomplishment, he reflected. Then it says Gilmore was 19 when jailed for drug offenses. He was given a 10-year sentence that came with a mandatory 5 years. He served 80 months, or about 6.5 years. He said while incarcerated, he took part in every enrichment program available, including college courses. After his release, Gilmore obtained a degree from Rutgers University and opened a community center at 135 Monticello Avenue. And it ends there. So from the community center, then he was a community leader, community organizer, community activist, and ultimately decided to run for Ward F councilman, which they carved up the whole ward, but that's a whole different discussion for another day. But that's still in litigation. But he is that councilman. So my question to you, my statement to you first is that, like I said, you epitomize that quote I gave, but I'm also saying you epitomize Kuji Chagalia, right? Self-determination. That's who, my eyes, that's who you are. That's what you're about. So my question to you is, what is that thing, Brother Educational Gilmore? What is that thing inside of you that despite your setbacks in the past, your challenges in the past, what's that thing inside? I'm talking to somebody young, or somebody on the thread right now that's stuck, right? This question is for you to get them unstuck. What is that thing inside that despite those setbacks that you were able to climb to where you are now? And all of us that know you know that if this is the continuum of like where we are right now, and this is where we're going to be, you like way over here, because you ain't nowhere near where you're going to be. So in terms of the plateau that you're at right now, what's that thing that gets you to where you are despite your past?
I would say that thing is, you alluded to it earlier, that self-determination, right? But bigger than self-determination, right, is the ability to encourage others that despite what they've been through, despite where they come from, despite all of their shortcomings, there is hope. So as long as though you put the work in. Right. And that's always the message. I always tell everybody, my story means nothing to me if I can't use it to help someone else out. Right. So many of us, some of us are born with 3 strikes in a game where 2 strikes you out. Right. You're born into poverty. Your parents have a low socioeconomical status. You're born, you're a Black person in America. You're born in some of the poorest parts of the city, the state, and the country. Right. Those are all strikes against you, and you've done nothing. You haven't done anything. So many times, so many of us are just written off. Right. I remember when they criticized me for encountering the criminal justice system, forgetting they implemented the traps that make people who look like me get caught in the same system they criminalized me for going through. Right. That's tantamount to you're mad at someone you threw in the ocean to drown, and being that they didn't drown, you're criticizing them. Right? You've essentially created an environment where the likelihood of X occurring is very high. And then when that occurs, you want to penalize that individual. Well, you set the trap. Part of the onus, in fact, most of the onus is on you. Right. So I use my story. I go all over the country because, one, I want to encourage kids that look like me, that come from where I come from, and just individuals who who when they face adversity, because adversity can have you in a corner like a dog with a tail up his behind, right? Because you're so discouraged, you don't have that self-determination, you don't understand your purpose in this thing called life, right? So it's trying to encourage people. And I tell kids all the time, I don't care where you come from, I don't care what you've been through, you can make something of yourself. How do you know that? You don't even know me, because I know when the odds are against me. I know I'm someone now. I have my bachelor's degree. I have several other degrees, but I was in special education classes all the way until my junior year in high school. Right? So don't tell me you can't make it. My father died. My mother was pregnant with me. Don't tell me you can't make it. My mother died 13 days after my 12th birthday. Don't tell me you can't make it. I don't want to hear any excuses. Right? And for me, bigger than anything, I don't want to kill the dreams of other young men coming behind me. So that's what that get up and every day and do the work stem from. Right? I don't want to shadow the dreams and chances of those who's coming behind me.
Wow.
Ooh, that's my spirit animal right there. He sounds.
Yeah. That's a whole seminar, and maybe we need to get together and do it. Right. Yeah. That's good stuff. Hey, brother Ed, you worked tirelessly trying to organize the 50th anniversary of the National Black Political Convention with others that worked tirelessly, but you were in a leadership role when you did it. What I want you to do, I was looking at the numbers, and I think we passed 1,000 people have been through this tonight. So I want you to talk to the fam out there that don't know. There's probably somebody out there that doesn't know 1972. It doesn't know the Gary, Indiana National Black Political Convention. I don't want you to do the lecture, right? But what was it, and why was it so important to you? Because you were working your butt off. Why was it so important for you to make that 50th anniversary happen? And again, the pandemic, it became our reality, and it derailed all those efforts, right? But why were you putting so much into that? Why did that matter? Give us both, though.
It's interesting, man, because I think what came full circle for me was what Brother Fa Mtume said to me, right? When he said that, his father had told his doctor that he needed to stay alive long enough for the 50th anniversary to come to fruition. And I don't know if you was at the press conference where we were trying to plug Mtume in, so that he can say what he needed to say. And that's why it was really important to me, really, for it to come about, because it was important to him. Because Mtume, we'd had a lot of late night conversations, he and I, about what it was like in 72 when he was there, but more importantly, what it was about in terms of raising a new generation of Black politicians. Black politicians who are concerned about the well-being of Black people and about the Black community. And that's what the 72 Gary Convention was supposed to be about, right? It was supposed to be about Black people who were going to be interested in the Black community. And so when that didn't happen, for the most part, it was heartbreaking, because I remember Mitty saying to me at one point at the press conference, he had also said, Mitty Barak had also said to me, he said, man, we've got to bring this to fruition, because we need to be able to raise another group of young brothers and sisters who understand that they work for Black people. The problem is when most of our elected officials get elected, I'm not going to call any names, but I can tell you that there are some who are in the news right now who don't work for the interests of Black people. But, the National Black Political Convention 50th anniversary wanted to bring that to fruition, wanted to have a renewal of those kind of Black politicians, those kind of meetings. and so it was important. Um, and you were part of some of the organizing meetings. You know some of the backstory of what was going on and so forth. But that was important, and it still is, right? And I think that even now, more so than ever, and as Dashawn alluded to earlier, some of the concerns that Black folks have with the, with the second coming of Trump, you know, the question is that we've got to do for self, and that means that we've got to unite politically, and we've got to organize our people politically, but we also got to become politically conscious. Most of
Mm,
our people are not politically conscious,
mm,
and so we need to teach our people the meaning of politics. Mayor Baraka talks about his limited ability to do what he could do as mayor, but if he became governor, he would have more power to do even more. And I can
mm,
remember when Amiri Baraka was alive, man, he's in the studio at Rutgers University with us, and he said to me, he said that, he said, and by the way, he was one of the original organizers of the 1972 Gary Convention. He had said to me, he said, he said the real key is to organize locally. And when you organize locally, he said you can control your schools. He said you can control your police departments. He said you can control your fire departments. And then he said what we want to do is go to those states. And then he said we want to take over those governorships. And if we can take over those governorships, he said, now, brother, he said we can make a real difference in the lives of our people. But the problem is that we're not that politically educated. And so remember back in the day, during the civil rights movement, they had political education classes. They were educating our people. So we need to first, I believe, educate our people. And that was the importance of the 50th anniversary of the National Black Political Convention, to be able to do those things. And I believe Brother Mtume, Baba Mtume, who's now an ancestor, I believe he understood that, right? And
Yeah.
he understood we needed to be able to raise people. We needed to be able to um, organize ourselves politically, and at the same time be able to put each other in power, so that those people in power would be answerable to us, not anybody else, but answerable to those people who put them in power. And that, brother, is what the what the National Black Political Convention, the NBPC, was all about.
I got a part B for you. Talk to us about, tell us who was Amiri Baraka. And I don't mean his bio, but I mean in relationship to the Gary Conference, right? The Gary National Black Political Convention. Tell us who was Amiri Baraka, and what is the significance of his son being the mayor of Newark, and what we hope the future governor of New Jersey.
It's interesting, man, because I've actually known Amiri since I was probably about 5 or 6 years old.
Wow.
I lived across the street from them, right? In fact, Mayor Baraka wasn't even born. I lived across the street, Sterling Street. They had something called the Spirit House, and I used to play house with his sisters. And so I played in the Spirit House. I saw Amina Baraka, Mama Baraka, when she was young. I saw Amiri Baraka when he was young. I saw them at 502 High Street when they used to put on plays. I saw when all of these books were coming about. And what most people don't know is that he used to come into the street. We used to shut off the street when we were younger, and Amiri Baraka would come into the street with all of the children, and he would give all of the children African names. And I remember he named me when I was a child. I don't often tell people this story, but he named me Uhulu, and Uhulu meant brave warrior. And and so whenever he would come to the studio, I would remind him of those days, and we would talk. And so his his conversation about what he saw for Black people politically was to be in power, right? And that was Black political power. It was, and the thing is, man, is that for most of our people, we don't understand that for Black folk like Amiri Baraka, who had to put it all on the line. There's some things I know that I can't really say publicly, but you all know that this brother put it all on the line and lost his poet laureate with Rutgers University, right? But how many Black people do you really know? Do you really know were willing to go that far for their people, right? And you got to understand, even now, there's some things that me and Jonathan are working on with his younger son. We're working on an autobiography with Amiri Midi Baraka. And there's some things, man, that you got to understand that most Black people in this country who call themselves leaders, who call themselves Black Power movement people, they're not willing to put themselves on a line like that and pay the price that not only he paid, but you got to look at the price their family has paid and still paying. And so when you look at a governor like Mayor Baraka, you talking about somebody who not only love his people, but at the same time have to make a calculated decision to not only make sure that we do well, but he's got to make sure everybody else do well. And that, my brother, is a hell of a order and a hell of a price to pay, right? Because there's not a lot of people that can walk that line. But in my mind, there's no better candidate than Ras Baraka, than Mayor Baraka. There's no better candidate.
Yeah. I love it. I appreciate that. Dr. Chester, can I keep going? All right. I got everybody on these individuals, man. Hey, let me go to Dashawn. Matter of fact, Dash, let me save you for last. Let me go to Baba Zaid real quick. Zaid, I became familiar with you in the 80s when I was coming into my consciousness. I would go to my wife and I, who was my fiance, my girlfriend, that type of thing. We would go to African Echoes faithfully every Sunday, right? Sometimes we brought her siblings. Sometimes we brought her nephew or nieces, or and others. But you were a focal point. I remember vividly. You referenced poetry, and I it's like when each of you spoke, I was kind of symbolically patting myself on the back saying, wow, I did good homework, because you referenced the poetry, and that's where I'm going. So we'd be sitting in the audience and you sort of were like an MC and you would do all these poems. And I'm sitting there like, who is this dude? Because I knew you were either my age or slightly younger, and we know now you slightly younger, right? But and I was just always impressed by this young cat, this young brother that was up there, because there's a lot of elders in the room, and you were up there taking care of business. And see, I'm coming into my consciousness, so I'm admiring that, right, of you. So I say that to say this. I got a two-parter for you. In what ways did your role within African Echoes impact your trajectory into the multifaceted man that you are today?
Well, let me say, well, we're the same age, right?
You're 64 now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you keep it quiet.
Yeah, and I'm feeling it every day too. And I got some work I got to do on that front to improve that energy, right? But I just wanted to just say just a couple things before I actually take that on. One, the question that you asked, Gilmore, is important, right? We're getting ready for Malcolm's centennial. My principal organization right now is the Malcolm X Commemoration Committee. We're getting ready for Malcolm's centennial. He is what we call, Malcolm is the daddy of credible messengers. Credible messengers drive what we call community-based violence intervention. Gilmore is a credible messenger, right? Great story, okay? Still connecting the young folks who are caught up in those mistakes and that confusion, right? And it's got a story that matches their confusion that comes with light to help them get out of that. And we definitely need, we can have a conversation about putting together that conversation that builds around stories like his. And I'm an old credible messenger. I'm a movement credible messenger because my stuff turned around in the 70s, right? So I'm a bit older than he is for sure. But I just wanted to lift that up because I don't want that to get missed, because we need to be rocking through the centennial all year long, and there's a virtual space that I'm developing for that particular purpose too. And then Ed, of course, lifted up Amiri, right? My two mentors in terms of poetry were Amiri Baraka and the late Jane Cortez. And Jane was huge to me. The late great Jane Cortez. She was a Black arts womanist from the West Coast, who, when she came to New York, she was my actual teacher in the craft. Right? Amiri, organizer. We had apartheid. We had urban gangster apartheid in Newark, and we did not get rid of it with poems and ballads, right? That apartheid was enforced by the bullet, and we needed to organize ourselves to get rid of that in that way, to meet that, right? And that's the side of Amiri's organizing legend that doesn't get talked about at all. Right. And he even did some time, because whenever there was a major maneuver of Black men defending themselves and pushing those racists, back, right, his home would come under attack. Where the guns? Where the guns? Where the guns, Baraka? Where the guns? And he actually did some time in having to do that. So I wanted to lift that piece back up, because I'm talking about self-determination, and self-defense is directly related to that. The answer to your question is that African Echoes was the place where now I want to lift up Brother Kasekanwe, who's the godfather of my baby girl, right? Who now runs what we now call Refal. He was really the young boy in our circle. And he was the one saying, we are constantly getting kicked out of the spaces that we're in, providing this knowledge and information and these lectures, because we don't own them. This is the young boy talking, right? And the old head said, yeah, and just kept going around to space. And finally he said, let's start doing something with our money to invest into in the space. And he very quietly did that, right? But the old heads really did not, weren't really with it. But once we finally got the space, there was a divide that emerged. Those same old heads did not want to commit to the sharing of the responsibilities of developing and maintaining the space. So it turned into a split. And I said, there ain't no question about where I'm going in this. We have to, if we're going to embody this for our kids, we have to embody this in practice, not just having knowledge. If we got a space that we can control, we got to honor that space. We got to honor that space with these principles that we're talking about. Yeah. There was no question for me as to where that was going to go, right? And so I have tried to, wherever I go, even on the left, right? When I got my dyed in the wool doctrinaire socialist, I do not forget to be practical. It's one thing to be theoretically correct, but if the people don't know what the hell you're talking about and you can't put it in practice, you're going to lose them. Right? Make it practical. What does socialism look like in the practical sense? It's not sharing our resources. It's not rocket science. It's not sharing our resources, right? And so that's that contentious space. It was quietly contentious. It became very clear to me that we have to be genuinely self-determining and not at all apologetic about controlling spaces that are ours.
I just want to make sure that everybody heard that Baba Zaid said womanist and not feminist.
I did. And let me add this too, because I want to consider somebody as a guest coming on. There's a beautiful young sister named Dr. Tiffany Crutcher, who is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She's the twin sister of Terrence Crutcher. Terrence Crutcher was Tulsa's Hands Up, Don't Shoot case, right? This health educator left Birmingham, Alabama came back to Tulsa with the intention of rebuilding Black Wall Street in honor of her brother and her grandmother, Rebecca Crutcher, who survived the 1921 Tulsa massacre, right? And one of the things that she does, we share space nationally in what we call community-based violence intervention, right? She took it to another space. She actually bought out a mall, right, in a very bottom, level way, to rebuild that whole space in North Tulsa, on the premise of the collective ownership, on the premise of Ujamaa, right? That was the genuine Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we're all praying for her that they do well and she does well, because she actually took a step beyond what most of us do in community-based violence intervention. We do the culture, we do the credible messenger thing and the safe space thing, but actually owning those spaces was another big giant step.
And her, she manifested her ancestors, so I love it.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout that.
Speaking of violence prevention, on the 31st, Deputy Mayor Keisha Urey will be joining us on the platform. So we look forward to that conversation.
That's hugely personal, because I ain't even gonna go no further with that.
Let me give you this part B, and then I want to get to Dashawn, and I want to turn it back over to Dr. Chester. Where we at? Here we are. Over the years, Baba Zaid, for whatever the reason, we've had brief conversations, you and I, about your trajectory, right? Career-wise, it's come up, and I won't get into specifics. And for me, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, the unspoken comment by you, was, yeah, but the struggle is my life. And you just maintain what you do. If I'm wrong, correct me, right? But that's, the way I see you, that's who you are. You're 24/7 on the ground, boots on the ground. Yeah, so you referenced political prisoners a little bit earlier, and I wanted to get into that. A central part of your work, we talk about the anti-violence, we talk about Malcolm X commemorative committee and so much, but your passion for the freeing of political prisoners, which is inclusive of Mumia Abu Jamal, you're known by that. So my question to you, why are you so involved in that work? And why is it so dear to who you are?
Well, any nation fighting for its freedom, fighting for self-determination. And we've got examples all over the world, and we've had examples in so many in recent history, have always lifted up those who have been found themselves in captivity by virtue of their commitment to those fights. Right. Of course, the most famous in the modern epic was the great Mr. Nelson Mandela. I cut my teeth in civil disobedience in the 1970s at the Rutgers University, over, the apartheid movement, right? Getting Rutgers to divest its money out of the apartheid arraignment, right? But, we have had dozens of Black men and women who've done dozens of time in this country, some who have died in captivity, right? Jersey political prisoner who we lost, Bashir Hamid, I grew up with his nephews, right? It was deeply personal on one front. I had the responsibility of doing Assata Shakur's first book party in the country, right here in Jersey, where she was captured and where she was liberated from prison, right? And it wasn't going. We ain't gonna talk about Assata in the abstract. We were dead in the work of trying to get her comrades free, right? As we were lifting up Assata Mutulu Shakur, the stepfather of Tupac Shakur, was going into prison, right? And it took us 38 years to get him out. 38 years, right? You mentioned Mumia Abu Jamal, 43 years in. Maroon Schultz, 49 years. We lost Chip Fitzgerald in prison in his 51st year, right? Ed Poindexter, 53 years in prison, right? What were they doing? Defending our community and our right to be self-determining, right? Defending our community and our right to be self-determining. And that could be, and having the kind of responsibilities I've had paramilitarily speaking, I know I could have faced that easily just like they have, right? So it's for me, it's a matter of principle, right? You touch one, touch all, leave no one behind enemy lines. Those are basic communal military principles that I take cold serious. Right? Dashan was one of my former soldiers. He'll tell you I hate casualties on our side. And the only time casualties are acceptable is when it advances your position. And usually that means casualties on both sides. So we need to claim our freedom fighters. We need to be unapologetic about why they should be free. Focus on three quickly. We mentioned Mumia, Imam Jamil El-Amin, the former H. Brown. We have a medical crisis around him. We believe a cancerous growth, growing in his mouth that needs emergency medical attention. The last New York Panther that's in captivity is Kamal Siddiqui. Kamal was framed by the same judge that framed Imam Jamil in Georgia. Kamal was the partner and the father of Assata Shakur's only child, Kikuya Shakur, right? And under some very serious medical challenges during his captivity. So, all those years we've gotten some out and we've lost some inside, right? But we still have some serious work to do. And we're in a time and space as the march of government and government oversight and government repression moves backwards, where we can face a new round of political prisoners, right? And if that happens to anyone in our community who's genuinely standing up, we're going to need our community to genuinely stand up in their defense. That's the time that we're in, and this is the space that we're in. A great Pan-Africanist, Emile Cabral, taught us many years ago, tell no lies, claim no easy victories. Our unity is hugely important, and it's important for situations such as that.
My last question, that was powerful stuff. This is this is just a very extraordinary, powerful Kwanzaa conversation.
It is.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people will see the recorded video as well as the people who have seen it live. Brother cousin Dashan, you are the epitome of an independent journalist. We talked about that before, but I want to go in another direction. You've dropped some names of people you've worked with, such as Boyce Watkins, Michael Eric Dyson, and so many others that you've worked with over the years. I asked Educational Gilmore about that thing that drives him to continue to do this work, and I'm gonna ask you. I know you. You're very intelligent. I remember back in high school, and you were whatever that designation was, the most likely to succeed or whatever it was, and they did that big story on you in the East Orange Record with your picture. I've never forgotten that. But you chose this independent route where you could be working for some major company and making a whole lot of money, but for whatever the reason, you chose this route. My question to you is, what drives you to continue to be this independent journalist that you are?
Well, dear brother, I don't like being controlled. Okay, I don't like being controlled. And so something that I learned a long time ago, there's a brother here in New York City, Gary Anthony Ramsey. He was the president of the New York Association of Black Journalists, but he's a veteran reporter from an activist news station right here in the city, New York One. And you have a bunch of progressive black journalists there, Dean Miminger, Cheryl Wills, but Gary Anthony Ramsey, he was one of all the activists know him. But to make a long story short, he introduced me in 2000 when I began to pursue this, say, full time. The first thing Gary did was he said, "Brother, you need to speak to so and so. You need to meet so and so." So there was a brother by the name of Eric. I forgot his name. Eric is still with us, but he was a producer for Gil Noble's show. And he said to me, he said, "Young man, you want to be an entrepreneur. You don't just want to be a journalist." He said, "You want to be, and remember, of course, remember Tony Brown became wealthy off of his show, Tony Brown's Journal. Of course, he had sponsorship. But what motivates me is, like I said, I don't like being controlled, but the liberation of black people. But at the same time, I understand the importance of, there's nothing wrong with, something that Professor James Small told me one time. He and I were riding together from ASCAC. In fact, your son was there. This is in 2010. We had ASCAC.
Yeah, he's sitting right here.
Right, Washington, D.C. Oh, he's here?
He's listened to the whole broadcast.
Okay, Hotep Baruti II. That's like my other little brother. But anyway, and so Professor Small said to me, he said, brother, he said, let me tell you something. If for any reason your career slows down, there's nothing wrong with switching for a little while to make sure you're making some money. And I've actually done that. I've actually done security. I've actually scrubbed tables. And also I have an editing service, just to let you know, if anyone needs their dissertation edited or a book edited, sometimes, I might wake up and $300 might be in my Cash App and I'll get a phone call, Brother Dashawn, I just sent you 300, brother, edit these first 3 chapters. Okay. So my thing is the liberation of black people and me not wanting to be controlled. Now, just to let you know, not trying to, sound spooky. If there was a network that said, Mr. Farad, we want you to host, we want you to run our news department, or we want you to host this broadcast for us, host the show, I'm not going to say that I'm going to say no, because all, this is real. We have to eat. Okay, that, all things are, I'm not spooky when it comes to it. Okay, so, like I said, I've actually learned, one of the people that I learned from, of course, even though I was already doing this, look at our brother, and I might catch hell for this, but Roland Martin. Okay, but even before Roland Martin, Dr. Boyce Watkins, he established Your Black World in 2010 for that very reason. Okay, independent journalism. You have so many black independent journalists on YouTube, but I'm going to give a warning now to those of you who are black content creators. Make sure you save all your material on a zip drive and also create your own website, preferably an app. You know why? Because anytime they want to snap you off of YouTube, your stuff is done. Okay, your stuff is done. Okay, but I say that to black content creators all the time. Well, those of us who are not sprouting nonsense, by the way. But anyway, but what motivates me is the constant need to bring information to our people. Once again, yes, I'm a journalist, etc., etc. I'm a commentator, but Brother Baruti, remember, you and I, we literally were in the circle, and I'm going to use the language of the Nation of Islam. We grew up in the circle of the gods. And when I say in the circle of the gods, I'm talking about our scholars who we mentioned on this broadcast. Okay, me, when I decided to do, like I said, when I went to school for this, all I was doing was copying what I saw Gil Noble doing and Tony Brown doing and Bill McCreary doing, covering the entire black experience, but from a journalistic perspective. That's why I have a show, by the way. I got to shout out my show, Expressions in Blackness, that I launched last year. It's here on YouTube, and my first guest was the phenomenal Dr. Gerald Horn, another one of my big brothers in academia and scholarship. Okay, and I'm raising money for equipment. The money actually is mainly for equipment, in case I have to purchase a new laptop. And if anybody wants to send money, you can Cash App me at T. Farad or Venmo at Dashawn Farad Media, or you can send it to Zelle or PayPal 347-898-5556. Now, Brother Baruti, you don't ever have to send me another dime ever again after that generous donation you sent me 2 years ago, brother. I'm good with you. Anyway, what motivates me is black liberation.
I love it. Listen, y'all. Dr. Chester, can you scroll to the woman by the name of Gwen? It shouldn't be too far. She said, I needed this. It was
Oh
good.
yes, I had it on the screen. Mhm.
Yeah. That kind of sums up my portion. She said, I needed this tonight. It was good for my soul,
What she said.
you know, and it was good for mine too. I really, I'm gonna toss this back at you, Dr. Chester, but let me just say this. This was powerful. See, I watch these brothers, Brother Ed and Brother Zaid, along with Brother Jonathan, every Friday, and they know I watch them from 40,000 feet altitude. If I'm in the sky, I still watch them, right? So for 3 hours, my wife knows
Really
when I'm
appreciate
home,
it.
I sit at this couch here and I watch them from 6 to 9. If I decide to go out and do some of my walking, my exercise, then I got my Bluetooth on and I'm listening. I listen to them faithfully more than anybody in the media that I watch. Them on Friday, and then the open line with Larry Ham, who will be on here on January 1st, right, with others. And Dr. Chester's been on open line online twice, right? So yeah, so I listen. Those are my two platforms. Open line online, all politics are local. That's my university for the weekend, right? Then I'm ready to get back out here and do the work that I do. But I was able to get 3 hours on open line, 3 hours with you brothers. So I'm able to get them 6 hours, and then I go back out and fight in this battlefield that I find myself in quite frequently. You know, so kudos to the four of you. And I'm gonna say this, educate. I gotta say this, Doc. Educational Gilmore. He used to come on faithfully, right? But he got real busy as a councilman, right? But he knows I never, and he was much younger, but he was going live every Sunday faithfully at about 8 o'clock, right? And he had me on as well. And I mean, that's what we did. We just sat here and listened to Educational Gilmore. But then his star began to rise and he became this councilman. So obviously he became a lot busier. But he's still online, but he's talking to the ward more so than he is talking to the world. So he's doing his thing. And then Dash, that's my man. That's my cousin, and I'm so proud of him. And I watch him from afar doing what he does. So to the four brothers, I thank you. I appreciate you for blessing our platform tonight.
We
And
appreciate you.
Oh man.
Thank you for being the embodiment of the Kwanzaa principles, Saba. Listen, guys, tonight, like, what a way to have a hump week, right? So, because we're in the middle of it's really like hump week, the hump day for the week of Kwanzaa. That was some real hump day like content. This was some powerful stuff. This is a video that you have to go back and replay because you did not absorb it all in one watch, right? It was impossible.
Mhm.
So many gems being dropped, so many tangible examples of us truly implementing and walking the principles of Kwanzaa. I mean, Dr. Tiffany Crutcher, who we heard about, who we gave honor to for what she's doing, tangible example, down there in Oklahoma. Each one of the scholars on here, did you hear what he was saying about helping the Black Panther scholars that are still locked up? Like that is some mission work, right? That is some true Kwanzaa mission work. You heard about councilpersons, councilperson Griffin. I know it's educational.
Gilmore.
Gilmore.
Councilperson Gilmore, Councilman Gilmore, talking about he was incarcerated, y'all, and he's an elected official.
Yeah.
Because he understands that all politics are local, right? The power in politics is local. All politics is local.
Mhm.
So we got. I hope those of us who are sitting down thinking about running for school board, thinking about running for city council person or whatever they call it in your area, all politics is local.
Do it.
You cannot make impact. We heard about the National Black Political Convention, y'all. So some of us weren't born yet, and they were getting ready to do a National Black Political Convention. We're on the auspices of Malcolm X Centennial. A time such as this, 2025 should be the year of manifestation.
Yes.
And you know something real quick. I'm looking at the comments. So Stephanie Perkins Biddings, She was, yeah, she said Kwanzaa is, since Kwanzaa's year round, so should this panel. Listen, and Ed could do this himself, or Zaid. I'll say it, and if you want to read, they're on every Friday night, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. It's called All Politics Are Local on Facebook, right? So just go to Facebook or YouTube, right? And they're on from 6 to 9. It's 3 of them. There's another one. He just got married, as was said, Jonathan Austin, and then they bring on all these guests. So Gilmore's been on, Dashawn's been on, I've been on, but countless others have been on. So just go to Facebook, All Politics Are Local, and they're there. Then on Sunday morning, go to WBLS Open Line online. The letters WBLS, like a radio station, online, and that's another show from this national from 9:15 until sometime they go to 1 o'clock. So 9:15 to 12 o'clock, right? You get all this kind of information for free.
Yes.
There it is. WBLS online.
That's it. I mean, that was my summary. I was really saying, like, all the information. I mean, listen, everything, guys, you have to go back and watch the replay, right? And yes, Principal President, the spirit of these brothers is pure. It is so refreshing to hear brothers speak from a pure place. Thank you for this time of refreshing, right? No agendas, no hidden agendas, nothing but being about this work. And this work is just simply the betterment of Black people and being unapologetic about that, y'all. It's okay. It's okay. But remember, it all begins with you and your self-love. How do you feel about yourself? Because if you love you, then you'll love your sisters and brothers that's out here doing this work, trying to do this work, wanting to do the work, don't know how to do the work. Some of them need some direction. And we talked a lot about the first 2 nights about everyone has a role in this. We're not all meant to be in front of the cameras, but everyone's role is important, right? Everyone's role is just as important as the next. And so, Habari Ghani, thank you so much. Baba Zaid and Cousin Deshawn and Councilman Gilmore and Pastor Riley for joining us and blessing us with your knowledge, your passion, and more importantly, your activism. Thank you.
Oh, and Doc, real quick, I'd be remiss. Hey, to the fam out there, that's the new one.
And that's what, your 9th book?
That's
13.
14.
14th book. Yeah,
14. What is my value? Instruction.
14,
The teachers I supervise, you can get it on Amazon right now, or you can go to the publisher, ascd.org, right? Or you can go to principalkafele.com. But I got to let y'all know it's here. And it's the most important book I've ever written. What is my value instructionally? Teachers I supervise.
And the 10th Rock Conference is July the 17th through the 20th, 2025.
Houston.
We got to do it again because it was so much fun. Good night, y'all.
Take care. Hotep, Black Power. Happy Kwanzaa.
Love y'all. Appreciate you.
Peace, brother.
All right.
Furaha ya Kwanzaa.